I think Meghan sees enemies everywhere, as he did too. And whereas he was really finished with her, he'd had enough of her prima donna behavior, and that's why he's dumped her. But money, you need tens of millions of dollars. And what we're seeing is that she can't find a financial backup.
You know, sometimes the loudest alarm isn't the one that screams, it's the silence that follows. And that's exactly what happened when Meghan and Harry proudly announced the birth of their daughter, Lilibet. Everyone was smiling, everyone was congratulating them, but the real shock? It was hidden in what wasn't there. See, when a royal baby is born, there's this one traditional line that's always included. Centuries old, never changed, never skipped. It reads, "The Duchess was safely delivered of a son or daughter." That one sentence proves that the mother herself gave birth. But when Meghan's announcement came out, that historic line was missing, gone, vanished. Instead, it simply said that Harry and Meghan had welcomed a daughter. Soft, modern, delicate, but it wasn't the royal way. And the people who live and breathe royal tradition, they knew immediately that wasn't a coincidence. This wasn't modern wording. It was a careful removal of the single sentence that confirmed Meghan physically gave birth. And from that day, a question started echoing quietly but sharply through the palace walls. Why would Meghan avoid saying she gave birth to her own child? What followed was even stranger, because that missing sentence wasn't some minor detail. It was the backbone of every royal birth announcement for generations. Each royal baby, from the Queen's children to William's kids, has had the exact same phrasing. The Duchess was safely delivered of a son or of a daughter, word for word, never touched. It's not just formality, it's verification.
Reported and examined and investigated.
A huge number of sources wouldn't speak to you, people who were aligned.
Proof that the child was actually born from the royal bloodline. But Meghan's wording? It just said welcomed. And yes, welcomed sounds sweet, doesn't it? It feels warm, like a post on a family Facebook page. But it's not official. It's not confirmation. It's an avoidance. And the people who study palace protocol, who know the weight of every word, oh, they noticed. Because one thing you never, ever change is that particular phrase. Without it, there's no official statement saying Meghan actually gave birth. It just reads like a generic baby announcement. That phrase, safely delivered of a son or daughter, has always meant one thing: the mother gave birth herself. It's validation, a mark in history. In a world where bloodline defines everything, status, titles, the crown itself, that single sentence means everything. And yet Meghan's version erased it. People close to royal traditions didn't see that as creativity. They saw it as caution. Because Meghan and Harry's announcement wasn't written in a rush, it was deliberate. Every word was chosen carefully, which means the omission wasn't accidental, it was intentional. And that made everyone wonder, what exactly was she avoiding saying? It's not that the palace never adjusts its tone. They've modernized a little before, but that one sacred line, never touched. Until now. Without it, nothing is verified. No record that the Duchess physically gave birth.
But she did her best to prevent that happening.
Yeah. Now, let's go briefly back to her early life, and there was a lot of...
Just a vague, the couple welcomed a baby. And for the palace watchers who noticed these subtleties, this was a red flag. Because official announcements are never carelessly written. They're reviewed, checked, and signed off at multiple levels. So when something centuries old suddenly disappears, it's never just a stylistic decision. People immediately began whispering, why was this specific birth treated differently? But it wasn't just Meghan and Harry's statement that caused the buzz, it was the palace's reaction, or rather, their lack of one. Normally, when a royal baby is born, the palace issues its own statement, official, formal, and worded in that same precise way that's been used for hundreds of years. They don't copy what the parents say, they declare it themselves as a record of royal history. But this time, they didn't. Instead of saying the Duchess of Sussex was safely delivered of a daughter, the palace repeated Meghan and Harry's exact phrasing. They wrote, "The Duke and Duchess of Sussex have welcomed a daughter." The same soft wording, the same vague language, no verification. And that was bizarre. Because when institutions simply repeat someone else's claim without using their own wording, that's what's called keeping their distance. It's a polite way of saying we're just repeating what they said, but we're not confirming it ourselves. Like when your friend says they won the lottery and you tell people, oh, she says she won. Subtle, but powerful. It's a quiet refusal to own the statement. So people noticed. The palace didn't take ownership of the information. They didn't put their seal of certainty on it. They just passed it along like, this is what they told us, which raised serious eyebrows. Why would the palace, an institution that guards the bloodline like a fortress, not verify something as important as a royal birth? Were they unsure of something? Were they avoiding taking responsibility for details they couldn't confirm? Nobody knew. But one thing became clear. 2 statements were released that day, one from Meghan and Harry, one from the palace, and neither confirmed the birth in the traditional way. And this wasn't the first time something like that happened.
Meaning that the editorial team showed silent exasperation with her. The staff also wondered, did she consider...
The confusion actually started years earlier on the day Archie was born. The palace had released a perfectly normal announcement that morning, the kind they'd been issuing for decades. But hours later, it was pulled down, deleted, replaced by a completely rewritten version that had never happened before in modern royal history. These announcements aren't casual, they're precise, verified, and checked dozens of times. So for one to be withdrawn and rewritten meant something went wrong. And insiders said the problem wasn't from the palace's side, it was what Meghan and Harry provided. Details that didn't match, times that didn't align, inconsistencies that couldn't be ignored. Now, think about that. Birth records are factual documents. They're supposed to clearly state when and where a baby was born and who was present. It's not complicated. Yet, the version they were first given was so inconsistent, the palace had to redo it entirely. And the revised version? It was stripped down. No doctors listed, no hospital name, no phrasing confirming Meghan actually gave birth. Just general language that a baby was born. For royal watchers, this was unheard of. Missing details, rewritten announcements, vague wording, it all started adding up. Too many coincidences, too many gaps. And then came the question nobody could answer, where was Archie actually born? Because every royal baby's birthplace is officially confirmed. It's not just tradition, it's a matter of record. Yet, in Archie's case, no hospital ever claimed it, no medical team ever spoke, no photos of a hospital exit, no named doctors, no witnesses, nothing. To this day, there's no verified birthplace for the child of a prince, and that's never happened before. In a monarchy that lives and dies by bloodline, those records aren't optional, they're mandatory. Every detail of a royal birth is recorded because it determines who stands in line for the throne. But for Archie and later for Lilibet, those details vanished into thin air. No doctors, no hospitals, no verification. And just when people thought it couldn't get weirder, it did.
In his new magazine, he apparently paused before replying, Meghan and...
Because when experts looked into Lilibet's birth records, they noticed something off. Every Californian birth certificate starts with 104. It's the state code, always. But Lilibet's? It began with 105, a completely different code belonging to a different state. Nobody explained it, nobody corrected it, and when the doctor allegedly involved suddenly ended her entire medical practice 2 weeks later, it only fueled more questions. Imagine that. Delivering one of the most high-profile babies in the world, and then silence. No interviews, no statements, no pride, just a closed office and a vanished physician. Usually, doctors who deliver royal babies are honored, interviewed, celebrated. This time, nothing. She just disappeared. And there was more. A household worker who was present at Meghan and Harry's Montecito home during the supposed pregnancy came forward quietly later. She said she saw Meghan every day during that time, and according to her, no baby bump. Not once. Meghan looked radiant, active, and slim, just her normal self. Then, months later, the worker watched Meghan's Netflix documentary, and there was Meghan, visibly pregnant on screen. The woman said it felt surreal, like watching footage of a time she'd lived through but seeing something completely different from what she'd experienced. That one first-hand account didn't prove anything. But it raised even more questions, because if someone who lived in the house daily never noticed any sign of pregnancy, what exactly was going on? Then an old rumor resurfaced. Meghan's half-brother once hinted years ago that Meghan had gone through something in her past that would change everything. No proof, no confirmation, but in light of all these mysteries, it suddenly sounded less dismissible. So when you add it all up, the missing safely delivered line, the palace's non-committal statement, the doctor who vanished, the odd registration code, the unseen births, the rewritten announcements, and a worker saying she never saw a pregnancy, people began connecting dots that the palace never wanted connected. And here's the chilling part. For a child to be officially placed in the royal succession line, 4 ancient requirements must be met. The child must be born from the body of the mother. The parents must be legally married in the Church of England. The lineage must be clear and verified. Witnesses, either doctors or observers, must attest to the birth. That last rule is sacred. For centuries, palace doctors and observers have been present to witness every royal birth, to confirm that yes, this baby came from this mother. Their signatures protect the throne itself. And yet, with Archie and Lilibet, none of that was ever publicly confirmed. No doctors signed, no observers named, no wording verified it. 2 children were placed in line to inherit one of the most powerful legacies on Earth without the documentation that every royal birth before them has always had. So, what happened? Did the palace quietly change its rules? Did Meghan and Harry refuse to follow protocol? Or did something deeper take place that nobody dares to say out loud? The truth might never surface. But one thing is undeniable. When you remove centuries of royal confirmation, when you erase the one sentence that proves the mother gave birth, you're not just changing a document, you're rewriting history. And now, years later, the silence remains. No one has clarified, no one has corrected, and no one has filled in the blanks. That missing sentence, the one line that's been used for hundreds of years, might seem small, but it might be the biggest clue of all. Because sometimes, what's missing speaks louder than anything that's said. If this story left you speechless, hit that like button and tell me what you think. Because one thing's for sure, this mystery isn't going away anytime soon. The quiet around it might just be the loudest part of all. And the silence, oh, it's almost deafening now. Years have passed, yet no clarification, no official explanation, not even a polite correction from the palace or the Sussexes. Just this cloud of unanswered questions hanging in the air. People tried to move on, but the gaps were too strange to ignore. That one missing sentence became a symbol of something bigger, something that felt quietly swept under the royal rug. Because think about it, if everything was perfectly normal, why not just confirm it? Why not proudly say, yes, the Duchess was safely delivered of her daughter? Why not let the doctor speak, let the hospital release a simple statement, or show one photograph that matched the moment? Instead, everything stayed vague, wrapped in soft PR words and glossy imagery. And that's the thing about royal mysteries. They never die quietly. They linger, whispered about at dinner tables, dissected in videos and forums, spreading like wildfire through generations of royal watchers. Everyone wants to know what really happened behind those palace gates and Montecito walls. Maybe it's all coincidence. Maybe it's all intentional. But one truth remains. Every time the palace stays silent, the story grows louder. And this one, it's echoing across the world.